Well, Shawn, I don't know exactly what the temperature is up there by you right now. It's not exactly the warmest temperatures that Texas has ever had, but I will say you combine whatever kind of heat you've got up there and whatever kind of heat I've got down here, and it will still not be as warm or hot as some of the hot takes that are going to take place on this episode tonight. Because we've got some really, really big stuff to talk about, including Mandalorian and Grogu, including quite possibly one of the biggest Game of Thrones discussions that you and I have ever had in the history of our podcasting together. You don't want to miss out on this episode of Bannerman Banter. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Bannerman Banter, broadcasting live on YouTube. I'm Zach. I'm here with Shawn. And, dude, it has been a minute since we've had the chance to get together and geek out. And this is a discussion that we have been talking about for at least 3 weeks or so. And it just so happens that the trailer for The Mandalorian and Grogu happened to take place on the same day that we were going to be having this really fiery and lively conversation. So it's kind of cool that like all the worlds just happen to collide at the right time. We've got a trailer reaction that we're going to do off the top for you all. I'm going to give a movie review of something that I saw over the summer. Not necessarily a Flicks Busters segment, but I think it'll still be pretty interesting. And then we'll have the Gauntlet of Thrones. And as you can see down at the bottom, it's a couple of really, really high quality episodes from the world of Westeros. So even though it's only like technically 3 topics, I think we got a jam-packed show tonight.
Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to it. Apologies to everybody out there that has to listen to my voice this evening or whenever you get around to listening to this or watching it. Little under the weather, but excited to be here doing this. I think we might have a couple of special guests joining us for the first segment. But let's start with this, man. Let me turn the tables on you, just in case we don't get a chance to get to this while we have our guests on. You didn't even know the trailer was out until I mentioned something to you. So obviously by now you have watched it.
Yeah.
Now I'm not asking if you liked it or didn't like it. There's time for that. But is it about what you expected for them to release, or was it not what you expected?
I've seen it 3 times now. I watched it once when you first mentioned it to me. I watched it again when I had a little bigger screen to watch it on because I watched it on my phone at first. And then my wife asked me right before I went into the podcasting room, "What are you guys talking about tonight?" And so I popped it up on the TV and showed it to her. And I can say with some certainty that all 3 times were below what I was expecting. So it did not meet my expectations on any kind of level, on any hype level, on any kind of anticipation level. It it did not meet up for me.
Yeah, it's fair. I never did get to see the footage they released earlier this year. I can't remember what event, but had a
Oh,
couple of
Celebration.
stills from it. Yeah, I know the shot of Jabba's son was in that one too.
Hmm.
So, but I don't know how accurate what we've seen today is to that. Is it just them recycling that? I couldn't tell you, but look, it's the first teaser to a Star Wars movie since the Rise of Skywalker. When this thing comes out, it will have been 7 years since we experienced that movie in theaters, and I have thoughts that we'll get to in a bit. Just I don't mean specifically this movie, but the handling of the brand in general, because you're kind of seeing multiple facets of it going on at the exact same time right now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's definitely not the same. I don't think that's debatable. I don't think that's up for debate. I think it's very clear you have two different things happening and they're being handled two different ways, which we'll talk about. But it was just good to get something Star Wars. I'll say that, and I'll preface this right now in case no one else hears this later. Is I still think I'm going to go see this movie with my kids and have a good time with the movie. I firmly believe that's going to happen. But that doesn't mean that what's going on and what we're seeing is going to meet expectations at this point. Um, just want to give a quick shout out too before you chime in here, man, to Dustin, our show sponsor, who allows us to come out here and do this. We appreciate him and the other channel sponsors. Jason Like over at Backtrack Cinema, good place for retro horror. Jesse at Jesse's Storytime Spectacular, talking about all things pop culture. And Ryan and myself over at Kaulignation, your one-stop shop for all things colleague racing, Dinger Nation, SVG Nation, and all things NASCAR. And to our patrons, thank you for supporting us over there. It means a lot. It fuels the channel.
Yeah, there's some cool content on the way over on the Patreon, but we definitely would not be able to put on the program with the type of quality that it has without those supporters. So yes, I will echo those thanks and double down on them. We really appreciate the love and the ability to do what we do in the manner that we do it. So yes, all good things, and probably in some respects, in some cases, the quality of their support was probably a little better than the quality of this teaser trailer. I'll just put that out there. Um, but I hear what you're saying about just taking your family and enjoying it for what it is. And at the heart of it, that's going to have to be people's mentality. You're going to have to go into this with a pretty big grain of salt, and you're going to have to just watch it for what it is rather than critique it for what it is not. I am glad that one of us is in that frame of mind already because the other one of us is definitely not.
Oh, I have things to say, sir. I do. And we're going to have time to say it here, but I want to take a moment here to just say this has been a long time coming for me personally, something I've wanted to happen for a while. Call me too geeky or nerdy or, nostalgic, but put this under the Shawn's presents under the Christmas tree wish list here is there's a new Star Wars trailer, and whether you like it or you don't like it, it's not really the point because I have my own thoughts on it. But to have Zach and I doing this show and to have our guest joining us, uh, it means a lot because I cannot remember the last time the three of us were on a show together. And it's the first time that these two individuals appeared together on the channel in a long time. The little IPC reunion right here on Bannerman Banter. The caveman himself, Mr. Benhart. What's going on, buddy? Oh, and
Oh
we
boy.
got no audio.
He's been muted. That's all right.
Check the settings bar, Ben. It
How's this?
automatically changed. You're
There he
good.
is.
There you go.
I don't ask me. Don't ask me what's happening. I don't know half the time. How's it going, guys?
I was intentionally led astray and misdirected.
Oh really?
To
Oh really? I
the-
heard there was deception afoot.
There was. Do you remember when we got pitted against each other on trivia night?
I don't think I'll ever forget that. I don't think I'll ever stop feeling bad about that night. I feel like
No, I had it coming. That's the level of surprise that I just had.
I
That's
love
just
that
like
we don't see each other for like 8 months, and we're podcasting 3 weeks in a row. I love this.
Same. Like we did our own episode of IPC last week, and then we're doing a giant Jurassic crossover pod next week. So, Shawn,
Yeah.
you have arranged a triple header of sorts, and I intentionally staggered it this way so that I wouldn't be podcasting on back-to-back nights. And now I'm here back-to-back weeks with this guy. So that's pretty cool. But who else would be better to have on than the guy who is literally labeled the Star Wars guy and has his own Bill Nye style theme song? Um, Ben, we were talking about expectations just before you hopped on regarding this teaser trailer. Um, there was obviously a lot of stuff that got revealed and a lot of stuff that got talked about at Celebration back in the
Right.
spring. So your expectations may have been a little different from mine just because of how immersed you were back in April. You weren't there in person, but you had a lot of people that were. And
Mhm.
so that type of conversation has been taking place in your circle for a couple of months now. Did this teaser do anything to your expectations for this film? Did it meet them? Did it fall short of them? Was it about what you were expecting based on what you heard from people at Celebration? What's the temperature like over in the Star Wars guys world?
Yeah, so I mean, I will preface my thoughts by saying that, like, yes, I saw all the leaked footage. I saw all the potato quality because there's a trailer, if anyone hasn't seen it, I don't know how they've avoided it because they showed that there's one that they showed at Celebration, they showed at D23, basically the same trailer. And you know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. And at this point, don't go looking for it if you haven't seen it. Like, stay away from it. I think there's stuff in there that, like, I think would be fun to see, and there's stuff in there that I'm glad they kept out of this trailer because I think I I'm glad that I saw it, but like I just want to save that. Like, I want to forget it, put it out of my mind, and be surprised when I see it in the theater. So like a lot of the stuff in this trailer is from that trailer. I've seen a lot of the stuff that, the fact that Sigourney Weaver's in this, the fact that Zeb's in this, the fact that, there's Anzellans, and Grogu's off on an adventure with a bunch of, Anzellans. None of that is a surprise to me. So, I've known about this for months. So I wouldn't say my expectations were raised, that my hype level was necessarily raised in advance. But it's just more of the same. So we're like, yes, finally we have something to talk about. Finally, I can post that picture of a giant hut with big guns, in front of a crowd, and not worry about people getting spoiled, or getting Disney coming down on me hard, copyright wise.
Hmm.
So like, as far as expectations, I'm just expecting a really long, fun, good episode of The Mandalorian. That is what I'm going in expecting. I'm not I'm not expecting this movie to change the world. I'm not expecting it to make $1 billion. I'm not expecting it to be this, gargantuan comeback for Star Wars. I think it's incredibly smart. They're not going big and broad. They're just doing something that's safe. They know it's going to be a crowd pleaser. People love these characters. People love the story. And just more of that. So I think there's a lot being said online, and I can be negative on the Mandalorian. You get me on the certain topics, I can be negative. Okay, I love this show. It's it's pissed me off in certain instances, especially during season 3. I don't
Hmm.
want to get into that, but it's there's been some missteps. But from what I see here, it looks good. It looks like more of the same, which I like that. I like the Mandalorian. I just if sometimes more of the same is fine.
So I will preface a little bit further and say this is not IPC, sir. So if there is stuff that you want to rip apart, this is the show to do it on. And I have a feeling that Shawn and I may tear into this at least a little bit before we slip over to the silver linings. Um, but I'm
Can
not
I
I'm not
jump in
entirely
for one
I'm
second
not
here?
entirely certain on that.
I
What do you?
almost feel almost feel bad because you and I didn't talk at all really about how we felt about the trailer today. We were just trying to see if we could get a
We
show
were we were
going
gonna have
because
blind reactions, so I'm blind to your response. Please tell me how you felt.
um well at the moment I'm feeling like I might have unintentionally invited Ben into his own red wedding episode, which
Oh God.
makes me feel a little bad.
Now I'm scared.
Um, but you know, I it's so hard to just view it as a fan in 2025, and I'm gonna do it the right way, and I'm gonna go see this movie with all my kids and wife in theaters, and I'm sure they will enjoy it. And you know what? I said off the top of the program, I am 95% positive a film directed by Jon Favreau and Filoni's involvement. And you know, I do like The Mandalorian, 2 to 3 seasons anyway. Um, I think that I will leave the theater fairly happy with what we get, but I also think Ben nailed it. I think anyone expecting more than a really long episode of The Mandalorian um, is going to be gravely disappointed. And that worries me a little bit for general audiences because I know people will say, well, don't worry about the box office this or reception that, but like, it's a little hard to not argue that Star Wars is coming out of an incredibly volatile time where you get hit, you get miss, you get hit, you get miss, and then Andor happens, and I don't know if I've loved anything more Star Wars than Andor ever at this point.
Yeah.
But then, like, we're rewatching Ahsoka on the Patreon. We're doing watch parties for it, and I've actually I haven't seen it since it first came out, and I'm actually really enjoying it. So it's like there's definite hits, but I think when we're talking cinematically, they need a win in public perception, in the box office. I didn't not like anything we've seen, but I can't help but feel like I could see invisible words on screen saying cheap, you know. And that's not to knock it. I think I'm gonna have fun with it, but it's really hard to sit here and go, okay, so they totally believe in this movie like they believe in Starfighter, right? Like, there's clearly two very different marketing plans going on in terms of the two movies, and one is being treated almost in this like the Force Awakens like way without the nostalgia, and the other one is, well, to quote Ben, being treated like a very long episode of The Mandalorian. And I just don't know if that's the best bet your first movie back. It's safe, and I think I'm not going to lose money or anything like that. But like, we have what, really no official cast members? Like Sigourney Weaver, that's it, and I have it on pretty good word. She's barely in the movie, so like, I don't know what to think of this project. I guess I was hoping to be blown away by the teaser, and I thought it was just kind of okay. And then I was hoping my kids would be blown away by it, but I'll be honest, they just kind of thought it was okay. And I don't know. I guess I wanted more, and maybe it was foolish of me to expect more.
So, Ben, you mentioned that there's some other content out there, and I know you don't want to relive it too terribly much, but about what percent of this teaser comes from that footage? Is everything from that footage and they just left some things out? Or is it like 50% of that footage is here and they included some new elements? Like, exactly how much of this content do you feel like may be original?
That's a very good question. I'm putting both of them in my mind, trying to watch them side by side and
Yeah.
see what things, because I know like the Sigourney Weaver scene of them sitting in a booth together, that's in
Mhm.
the original things.
Yep.
The
The AT-AT.
the AT-AT part of the AT-AT scene is
Yep.
in there, and the hut scene is in there. But
Yep.
then a large chunk of that, the beginning of that original teaser, I won't spoil it, but it's a giant one-shot sequence
Yep. I remember
of
that.
Din John doing something really badass.
Yep, I remember that.
And so if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, that
Yep.
is how the trailer opens. And I thought, well, they might just release that. No, there's none of that in this trailer, which I think
Right.
is good. I think it's good for like conventions to wow people,
Yeah.
and then to kind of hold that back and go like, well, maybe that's something you want to experience in the theater. At least that's how I want. So I don't want to watch that again. They will probably still put it in another trailer or something like
They
that down the
probably
line,
will.
because sometimes they put the best stuff in the trailers, and it's just like, oh yeah, the Rise of Skywalker, and she flips over the TIE fighter and things like that's one of the best scenes in the movie, but you saw it a million times, so it didn't have any
Mhm.
effect when you actually watched the movie.
Right.
So it's the catch-22. They're just like, you want to put the wowing stuff in the trailer to get people and get butts in seats, but then you lose that magic once you actually see it in the theater. So
Yeah.
it seems they're holding a lot of stuff back. I wouldn't put it past them that there's other cameos, other things we haven't seen in either trailers. Obviously, I think Zeb seems to play an important role, and none of the footage from the previous trailers of Zeb is in this. The footage of Zeb in this trailer is completely new. So
Yep.
there you go.
Yep. That's fair. So it's like there's a little bit that is similar, and then a little bit of stuff that's not. Maybe a few elements that are copy and paste, but they're copied from the tail end of something
Right.
rather than from like in the middle of something. I'm trying to be roundabout about it, but I'm not doing
You
a very
kind of,
good
when you
job.
watch both trailers, you kind of get the full picture of one
Hmm.
big sequence. You get the
Hmm.
full picture.
And here's the deal. StarWars.com, the official Star Wars website, when they did the press release about this, like 12 hours ago, the title says The Mandalorian and Grogu first teaser trailer revealed. That's the title of the press release. So it's the very first one
Mhm.
that is officially out there to the public. And it's being described by Lucasfilm as the teaser. So I, number one, think you're absolutely right that there's going to be more down the line, and it may include the stuff that was seen at Celebration
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people that have already seen it, and you're just waiting for the right opportunity to put it out there. I would say the
Yeah,
holidays are probably a good time. The Super Bowl may be a good time.
that's true.
There's still the Christmas, like the NBA Christmas games that get played on Christmas Day. There's still a lot of opportunities to
Am I
continue promoting this stuff over the fall and winter time.
am I wrong? The last time we had a Star Wars movie in May, which was Solo,
Hmm.
did they not release the first trailer during the Super Bowl? Am I misremembering that?
Oh
It was a
man.
preview. It was a preview, and then the full thing was the next day on Good Morning America.
Oh yeah, okay, you're right. You're right. And that's what kind of I was expecting was this one, because they have made a point of just like trailers coming now, whatever else.
Hmm.
And funny story, I just because of everything going on in the world and everything to do with Disney, I was like all that. We heard that the trailer was coming, so I'm like, okay, statistically, usually they drop trailers Monday morning. So I was ready for them to drop the trailer this morning. Set my set my alarm clock for 9 a.m. I was gonna get up, woke up before my alarm, realized they had dropped it an hour earlier. So that's been my
Oh
day.
no. See, and I was on the other end of the spectrum. This is how disconnected I've been from the Star Wars community. I didn't even know it was coming, and I didn't even
Oh
know it was
God.
out until Shawn messaged me in the mid morning and said, "Well, I guess we can talk about this on the podcast tonight." And I was like, "What are we talking about? What the hell do you mean?" And so it was just one of those things where it's like you are planning your day around it, and I'm just like, "Oh, hello, this is a thing."
Yeah. And there was no prior, there was no, it was just pure intuition on my part. Like every Monday morning, there I wake up and there's movie trailers being released. Like that's an industry wide thing of that happens. So I'm like, I think they're gonna do it now because we knew it was locked and loaded after what happened last week, and Disney wanted or didn't really want to release it then. And then
Mhm.
so that's I think that thinks and it's a smart thing to do because people wake up in the morning, hey, watch a trailer. Okay, it makes sense. But
Yeah.
um there you go.
So, Shawn, with the knowledge based on the StarWars.com press release, with the knowledge that this is just the first and just a teaser, does that alter your perception of what we saw at all? because I think originally I was seeing things on like IGN that were just calling it the first trailer. And for me, anyways, seeing like teaser versus seeing a trailer, I have different expectations from a teaser versus a trailer as far as what I get out of it. And so I'm still trying to come to grips with, how do I feel about this now that I know it's specifically a teaser versus how do I feel about it being a trailer, which was my perception the first time I saw it.
I think the trailer industry has changed a lot in the last decade in terms of how you market movies today compared to then.
Yeah.
Like, I would argue that the very first teaser that we ever got for The Force Awakens, which I believe was 13 months before the movie or something crazy like that, on I think it was like American Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, it was just
Yeah.
Finn, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
you got
was the
Finn.
first trailer, yeah.
You got Finn popped up, Ray, Poe, a behind shot of Kylo and the Falcon and the
Similar vibes because you just had images, like nothing, one line of dialogue versus we got two today, and like,
An ominous voice.
yeah.
There has been an awakening.
yeah. I would say that's about the level of story we got in this. We don't really know. I mean, the closest thing to a synopsis we have is from some marketing in Shanghai that suggests they're on the run from the Empire a little bit. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
There is one synopsis, but it's like it's a nothing burger of just like this is all the stuff we already knew.
yeah, it's. I don't think it changes for me because I think when you look at a lot of blockbuster movies now, their first teaser isn't 90 seconds long. It's 2 minutes or 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And some trailers are up in the 3 minute range. And it would have been nice to have some semblance of what the movie is about, other than a very long episode of The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't get that. And it's not like this thing's 13 months away. This thing is now, what, 8 months away? So,
Yeah.
We're not all that far. Again, I have a really hard time, and I say this to Zach all the time. I think Game of Thrones ruined me in a way. Is the production quality of things and things that just become, unignorable. Like we know almost no live action cast members for this movie. Sigourney Weaver, and we know
and,
Pedro
and
Pascal was on set for maybe a week or two, so I assume we will see him at some point. But other than that, there's no one, nobody at all announced. It's very bizarre for any major motion picture film to be, 8 months out from its release, and you don't know. And it makes me wonder how many people are actually in the movie that aren't just voices and stunt performers on screen and droids and CGI characters and etc. I'm not saying that's a make or break deal for me, but it is frustrating when I feel like Starfighter is getting treated like the next big thing, and this movie is getting treated like, honestly, kind of who cares, whatever. Like, think about how Starfighter released their official announcements. Like, boom, we're filming. Here's the cast. Here's some pictures, and here is a bunch of interviews for the media. I mean, the trailer came out today, and we don't have interviews from that I know of, unless I didn't see them, from Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau or anyone. It'd be nice if the movie wasn't getting treated as like the ugly stepchild, but I kind of feel like it is.
It's funny how I hadn't thought about it until you said this. It's like you're right, like the whole like we haven't got an official, we've got like, and there was like a story recently people picked up on. They were like Pedro Pascal officially confirmed because like there was some official source that said this, and it was a big story. And I was like, guys, we kind of already knew this. I feel like you're kind of making something out of nothing here. But it's true, like they didn't really go out things like Pedro was on stage with Sigourney Weaver at Celebration in Japan. Like, he was kind of out there. Like, obviously he's in the movie. Obviously he's voicing the character, at the very least. But there has been no announcement. Like we had that full cast list. And to me, that like shows like, oh, this is gonna be a big diverse cast of people in Starfighter. It's going to be a huge cast. And my perception of Mandalorian Grogu is like, maybe there's just not many people in this movie. Maybe it's just like Sigourney Weaver goes like, oh, go do the thing. And then it's just Mando and Grogu just off on an adventure and like, things. And maybe Jeremy Allen White shows up as Road to the Hutt. Like maybe that's the thing. And like, that's all of it. I'm not necessarily saying that the trailer should be, because I think there's been some, let's just say, unfair criticism, I think, thrown at this movie already that I've seen. That I peeked at Twitter. I should not have, but I did. People saying all kinds of crazy stuff and just like saying like, oh, there's no dialogue. I'm just like, yeah, usually trailers don't have a lot of dialogue. That's kind of things. This is a true teaser. I don't think you should necessarily, bank on everything, because especially Star Wars teasers, there's at least one shot in this trailer that will not be in the movie. That's a Star Wars tradition, just point blank. So get ready for that too. But you can, things like the first teaser for The Mandalorian, the TV show, was so different from the show to me. It was just like, oh, look at this dark and gritty and Mandalorian bounty hunter and all this kind of stuff. And you watch the first episode, it's like, oh, green baby, this is cute. And like the rest is history. And so it's like, well, they're also like, they're making the movie right now. They're editing it. I'm assuming they're probably close to a picture lock, but like the movie doesn't fully exist yet. They're still working on it. So like what it's actually going to be, they're just guessing, and we can only be left to guess.
Well, here's another interesting thing that I'm garnering from the press release. It was already broken that Jeremy Allen White's going to be in this film. Like
Right.
that's become common knowledge. He is not mentioned in the press release.
They're keeping that.
That's the weirdest thing to me. When we're talking about like casting announcements, this is an already confirmed casting of him being in the film. And it says, The Mandalorian's Zeb Orrelios is back, featured in poster art that also includes Sigourney Weaver's new character and a pair of Hutts. Later on in the article, it says, venturing into a gladiator fight where the creatures from Dedrick have become larger than life. So we get confirmation of Dedrick characters. And then it says, and an impressive Hutt can be glimpsed in silhouette. We all know that that's freaking Rhoda.
Yeah.
But
And
they're not going to say that.
And that's typical Lucasfilm. Like typical, this is like, so like they're so like, they hide the stupid things. They hide the obvious things. Like I'll never forget watching a live stream in the lead up to the Rise of Skywalker, and it's Anthony Daniels and Anthony Garboni, and they're talking about the toys of the Rise of Skywalker. And I think Anthony Carboni's like, oh, look at this guy, and he holds up Bulio, this character who has like 2 lines in the whole movie and gets killed in the first 5 seconds. And Anthony Daniels is like, no, we can't talk about that character. We can't even mention her name or whatever else. I'm like, why? Why are you so secretive about dumb things? Just, you can tell people things. It's okay. Why are you so paranoid? And I always use that example, just like the stupidity of the secrecy sometimes. And here it's just like, maybe they're holding back on it because they're like, well, it's been leaked and we don't have to confirm it. We want to keep people guessing. But like, everybody knows. Just did like put out a press release saying Jeremy Allen White's in it, Pedro Pascal, Sigourney Weaver, and also low key give props to frickin' Steve Bloom. Okay, don't quit disrespecting your voice actors by like hiding them and pretending that things like voice actors don't get enough respect. And like he voices that character, we know he's going to be that character. Like just put him on front and center.
Yeah. If they would just announce Jeremy Allen White and Steve Bloom and then give us like 2 other names, you've got like a quote unquote cast.
Or like the lady that voices the Babu Fricks, we know she's in it because she's the only person that voices the Inzelans.
Right. So then you only need 1 other name to drop. Like it's not rocket science. It's not that hard, and yet they still do this to us. It's so weird. It's so interesting. But in many cases it's dumb. Like why do we get confirmation about Dedrick characters, but we don't get Rota the Hutt confirmed? Like it's
Yeah.
So I will go on the record saying that I was very underwhelmed by this teaser. I don't care for the ones that just do like 2 seconds of this and show you 2 seconds of that, and then you move on and do 2 seconds of this, and the next thing you know, it's a minute and a half gone by, and you have no clue what is going on. You have no clue what I'm supposed to feel. I didn't feel anything. I didn't have time to feel anything. There just was too much and not enough at the same time. It was very overwhelming. It was very overstimulating, and for all the wrong reasons. And personally, I don't think it got me any more excited for this movie. I don't think I got less excited, but I don't think there was really anything about it, even the Zeb sequence, that really got me all that interested in seeing it even more. And I know that you've written me privately, Ben, and I need to write you back about it. But you know, when you're talking about making plans like Shawn is, I don't know if this is a movie that I want to make plans for. Like, yeah, maybe I'll go see it in my local theater, but I don't know if I'm gonna like if this is the kind of thing that I want to go out of the way for, even if it has been a 7 year drought. Is this what I want to end my drought on, or am I just gonna go see it like I see any other summer flick? I'm this teaser didn't clear that up for me. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't trying to end it on a downer, but that's where we ended up. Um, Ben, you and I have had interesting experiences with Star Wars film releases, to say the least.
Yep.
Um, Aside from Solo, there has not been a Star Wars movie that you and I have not seen in a theater together. Am I
Believe so.
correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
So we've got a pretty good streak going here. Um, how how do you feel like a TV show that's been turned into a movie would translate in the form of like people's traditions, like the ones you and I have? Like, I guess I need a little help trying to understand if this is something for me to keep the streak alive for based on what I've seen. But you've probably seen and have a little bit more insight and have heard a little bit more than what I have. I'm not necessarily asking you to make a sales pitch to me, but why are you looking forward to this film as much as you are?
You want me to convince you to come see the movie with us? Is that what you're saying? Is that
Not
what you're
necess-
saying?
not necessarily. Maybe a little, but not
I'll
necessarily. It's more for the general audience. We'll put it out there for everybody. Why should like a casual viewer who is not like as well versed in the world of Star Wars or as in depthly into it? Because my wife said that we haven't seen Star Wars recently, and she's like, maybe this is the type of teaser that you do for people who haven't watched the show or who aren't that into the franchise. You're showing them the explosions, you're showing them these action pieces in order to get them interested in coming to see more of this. Is that the approach that we need to have when looking at this film? Is like, are we not the target audience anymore, or are we supposed to be the target audience because it's a TV show that we've watched 3 seasons of, and this is like the payoff? I'm a little torn and a little confused.
I think, and I can't help but look at this from multiple different perspectives because I think from a corporate perspective, from a creator's perspective, from a Disney perspective,
Hmm.
I think this movie feels like a test because there's been rumblings of like if this movie doesn't do well, it will be the end of the Mandalorian. But if it does do well, there will be more Mandalorian movies. And I
Or
think that's
will there be like Ahsoka movies?
I mean, I think The Mandalorian could encompass all those. Like we've had, I don't know what stage of production it's in. I don't even know if it's even happening, but like you have the Dave Filoni announce like Mandoverse team up culmination movie that's kind of
Mhm.
nebulous out there,
Mhm.
that they're saying is going to be continuing and going to kind of wrap up all this thing. I don't know if it may be changing, it may have evolved into something else, it may not be happening at all because that's Star Wars these days. But I think this is they're throwing this out there as this is a cheap movie, a movie not cheap. Obviously, there's millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars that are being put into this. Like they're not things you can tell on screen. Make that there's a lot of VFX and a lot of really expensive CGI in this movie, um, but it is a cheaper movie. It is a more economical movie. The industry has been upended in more ways than one the past few years. COVID almost killed it, and now streaming is throttling it. And the reason this is a movie and not a TV show is because they're like, we can't keep doing the streaming stuff anymore. The streaming bubble has burst. We got to do something different. So they're going to take this thing and take season 4 and wrap it up into a neat package and put it on in a theater so they can actually make money off of it, and not just subscribers. So I think they're trying to reach out to everyone and see,
Mhm.
basically, do people still care about Baby Yoda? Do people still care about these characters? And I think it's meant as a restart point. I think season 3, it's not a coincidence that was like a Iris out. This is the ending, and this is going to be the start of something new. Um, one of my annoyances with this movie, kind of, at least the trailer, is just like kind of like the hitting back on the greatest hits and saying like, well, he's got this pulse rifle back, he's got the Razor Crest back. It's like you're kind of hitting
Mhm.
it pretty hard that we're going back. We're hitting the greatest hits of the Mandalorian versus trying to do something new, which is what George Lucas always tried to do. He always tried to do something new. And I know the Mandalorian is in and of itself. It's a Boba Fett lookalike with a Yoda lookalike and a baby Yoda, and that's the
Mhm.
show. And it's always been about nostalgia, stuff like that. It's always been a part of the DNA of the show. I get that. It doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't try new things. You shouldn't try to push the boundaries and do something different. We just got Andor. That show did that exquisitely. So I think as far as what people should expect, I think they're wanting to get people in the theater that have no knowledge of things, and also get the people that are things. You have stuff like Zeb, like the Anzellans, like stuff that Star Wars fans are going to get things, and then also here's Grogu, and I think if it gets good word of mouth, it'll easily make its budget back, maybe double its budget. That'd be nice. Because yes, I want to see more Mandalorian movies, but if it doesn't pan out, then I think they're going to things. I'm sorry that was such a long-winded thing. My brain's all over the place today, but basically, expect the expected. I don't necessarily think there's going to be something super unexpected. I think this is going to be mostly more of the same, and then last 5 minutes we're going to get Thrawn probably.
Oh man, I want Thrawn so badly. I want him so badly. But that's I guess before I toss it over to you, Sean, I know you have a couple of questions too. I guess my concern is that there have been a lot of TV shows of the past that have tried to do a movie and it just hasn't translated. Um, the Simpsons, SpongeBob. What is it? Bob's Burgers tried to do a movie a couple of years ago. Uh, Firefly tried to wrap up their show with a movie. What is it? Lost in
Sure.
Space has done it. The Walking Dead, I think, has done it. There's so many examples of TV shows that were decently strong that then tried to go the feature film route, and didn't it didn't go well. It didn't do what they hoped it would. And so I guess I'm trying to temper my expectations because of past results that we've gotten from other franchises. But that's where I'm at. Sean, where are you at, bud?
Kind of exactly where I said from the very beginning. I get what they're doing. Like even the poster, it resembles like old Buck Rogers posters, which was a big thing back in the day for George Lucas and some of the inspiration heading into A New Hope. And I'm sure I'll leave the movie theater feeling good, man. But right now, I'm feeling very underwhelmed, and Cheap probably was a bad word to use for it earlier, but um, I I just can't sit here and ignore the fact that Starfighter's being treated one way, and I'm looking forward to that. Like no tomorrow, and Mando is Mando. I hope Ben's right though. I'd love to see like Thrawn in the last 5 or 10 minutes of the movie and do him some justice, because I would argue that I don't know if he got done justice in the first season of Ahsoka, despite me really enjoying our rewatch here recently.
Yeah. I think I agree with that, and just piggyback off that, I think, and to answer your original question, Zach, for me, I think just having Star Wars back in the theater is enough for me, and I think it's going to be enough for a lot of people. I think Star Wars inadvertently did the thing that they kind of need to do every once in a while, which is like go away for a little bit. And I know Star Wars never really went away, but for theatrical releases, it has for 7 years. And I think for Star Wars to feel special to certain people, it does need to take a step back and kind of not be in the limelight. And I think, I wasn't a big fan of The Rise of Skywalker. Been on record for that. I think a lot of us are on the same boat in there. I'm still reckoning with my feelings on that movie, but it was fun to watch. Okay, it was fun to watch, especially fun to watch in a crowded theater with a bunch of other people that were hoping it would be good. But it's ultimately it's an experience. It's a fan experience, and for me, it's like whether it's good or it's bad, it's like the fanboys. What if it sucks? Well, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Just being surrounded by people that you love, that also love the same thing that you do, that's special.
Shawn,
Yeah,
I believe you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's hard to argue that. I'm looking forward to seeing it with people, but I'd be sitting here lying if and I'm not pitting the two against one another necessarily, but just my excitement's way higher for Starfighter. I look at what they're doing with that production, and it screams more of like, I'm not saying it's going to be the tone of this, but like more of, hey, we're doing the Andor budget and care to things, and this feels like an extended episode of The Mandalorian, to quote Ben for the third or fourth time. Ben, go ahead.
No. All I wanted to add to this is that speaking, I think you guys are in the boat of a lot of people that were kind of like, about the trailer. I prefer someone, and I've been in this situation before, of being kind of like, whatever, and then going into it and actually being surprised by this, having reasonable expectations, versus what I do a lot, which is like, yay, this movie, I'm really excited for this movie, and having unreasonable expectations, and then going in and knowing and realizing after the fact that there was no way for this movie to actually achieve the unreasonable expectations that I set for it. So like, I'm hoping that like everyone is just like, it's gonna be fine. I don't want people to be like, it's gonna be fine, but like, yeah, I don't want people to get super hyped up and then get disappointed. Just go in, have reasonable expectations, expect a big episode of Mandalorian, and then maybe we'll all be pleasantly surprised at the end of it.
Ben, before we bid you farewell, we have some rapid fire questions for you.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
Answer them as quickly as you can, and
I'll do my best.
We'll go through it. All right.
All right.
Starting now, will Rey appear in the Starfighter movie?
Let's say yes.
Will Simon Kinberg's trilogy somehow, in some way, absorb the intended standalone Rey movie?
What I've been hearing is yes.
Will Filoni's intended movie be a movie or a TV show?
I think live action TV on Disney Plus is going bye-bye for a little bit, so I say movie.
Will Kenobi appear in Ahsoka Season 2?
Yes.
Will Filoni take over or co-take over from Kathleen Kennedy in the next year?
I guess yes. I don't know how I feel about that, but yes, let's say yes.
And will the Knights of the Old Republic remake ever come out?
Hey, never say never. Never say never. I say yes. Keep a positive mind.
And lastly, do you think there's anything to the rumors of Anakin Skywalker having a bigger role in Ahsoka season 2?
Oh, I think I would be disappointed if he didn't.
Awesome, man. Well, it's appreciated that you joined us tonight.
Yeah.
It was fun chatting with you guys again. Zach, anything?
I'm looking forward to next week, buddy. We need
Yeah.
to get in touch with that crew that we're part
You
of
know,
and
wake
make
him up,
sure that
slap him in the face, and go,
we get
"You ready,
them
guys?"
all back on the same page so that we can talk about what 3 seasons of Chaos Theory plus the Jurassic World rebirth.
Plus a trailer. Plus, they just released a trailer for what the final season. So we got so much to cover. It's going to be 5 hours long.
It probably
Two,
will be.
two fun things before we say goodbye to Ben. The first being, I was sitting there today. I'd had a really bad weekend and not a great day, and I'm outside having a drink before the wife comes home. And I kind of thought to myself as I'm trying to put this together and also not let Zach know who's joining, like, oh man, this is like that time that we got Zach crushed by Ben in Star Wars trivia. You mentioned it off the top, and then I'm like thinking to myself outside, do I have time to put together 5 trivia questions? I didn't, but
Oh
that
God!
was a night
Thank God.
that is
Thank yeah.
long remembered.
Don't put us through that pain again. Don't do that. Okay, don't do that to Zach. He deserves better.
I finally remember what all 3 titles of the Thrawn trilogy are, but it's about
Here,
3
okay.
years too late.
Here is my request. Here is my request to you to make it a fair fight. Come up with 5 High Republic trivia questions.
Ooh.
I guarantee you, Zach has finished the High Republic. I got like 1/3 of it done. Okay, he would have the utmost advantage over me.
Okay, you said High Republic. I thought you said Old Republic, and I'm like, I don't know shit about the Old
Well, I
Republic.
don't know shit about it either. So
That would be the fair fight.
Oh,
Be like,
man.
excuse me? I don't know any of those terms you just said. Does any of that really exist?
that's the thing. Is just like my specialty is the movies and the TV shows, and all trivia usually aims in that direction. So I'm good. But if you go in the books or the video games, you're going to stump me.
Yeah, yeah. I've
So
I've I've had a great opportunity listening to the High Republic lately, and it's been a ride. And I say we need a Clone Wars style TV show set in the High Republic because characters like Avar and Elzar and Buryaga,
Do it.
they would get a ton of pop culture popularity if they were just a little bit more in the zeitgeist than they currently are.
Yeah,
let me tell
I've
you,
enjoyed watching young Jedi adventures just to show see
Mhm.
those characters show up. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, my kids watch that, so that's how I've been able to tune into select episodes of that. I'll tell you what. Speaking of Star Wars audio, I am struggling to get through what I guess a lot of people consider as a classic back in the day. They redid Rogue Planet in like new audio unabridged format.
I've never
Um,
heard that one.
so Rogue Planet is the in between, one of the main in between books of Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace. And
Oh.
way back in the day when you had people like, good old reliable Super Shadow and others, the Rogue Planet was a must read. You had to read this book before seeing Attack of the Clones, which I did not, and I'm listening to it now.
George Lucas's BFF, Super Shadow. Gotta love that
Yeah,
guy.
right? I'm telling you, I have never had such a hard time getting through a Star Wars audiobook in my life. And I love Anakin and Obi-Wan. They're one of my favorite dynamics in Star Wars, but holy crap. I'm close to the tap out point. And I only got like 4.5 hours left, but
See,
it's brutal.
what's really funny is like your group, your circle was telling you to read Rogue Planet. My circle was telling me to read The Approaching Storm.
Which is a good book. Thank you.
Approaching Storm is actually one of those books that goes between 1 and 2 and actually tells a story that, relatively speaking, ties into Attack of the Clones. So yeah, I would go back and read that again in a heartbeat.
Good cover art for that book too. The
Oh,
original.
hell yeah.
I gotta get back into the EU. I haven't haven't done. I did the Darth Bane trilogy. Obviously, did Heir to the Empire. I did the Mace Windu book from back in the day.
Shatterpoint.
Yeah. I've done a bunch of them, but I need to get back into it.
I wanna go back and read the Jedi Academy trilogy with Exar
Those
Kun.
Yeah, and then there was also the Jedi, whatever they were called, the whole like the kids stuff, the Skywalker kids stuff that was set,
yeah.
the whole like uh things like that was huge when I was a kid, but I wasn't like reading or getting into stuff like that. I was like, what the hell is this? I'm like, okay, I'd actually like, what was everyone talking about thinking? Because everyone was like, Jason, this and Jaina and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, I have no clue what you're talking about.
I was like, wait a second, there's another Anakin? What the hell?
Like
I would
most
love-
I know is from my visual dictionaries, which is like, oh, Anakin Solo, blah, 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 blah.
They're redoing so many of the audiobooks now in like the modern day quality, and it's not just Mark Thompson anymore, obviously, because
That's
there's
great.
only one of him to go around. But like, I'd love for them to get to what Zach mentioned, the Jedi Knight Academy trilogy, and even the Yuuzhan Vong stuff and New Jedi Order. Like, most of the audio that's available for that is like 3 hours long. It's like, where's the other 75% of my book?
What's the? There was one that gave me nightmares when I was a kid. The one that was written by R.A. Salvatore, who is a
It's not Death Troopers, is it?
no. It's
It's
a Vong novel, but
it's the first one. Is it Vector? No, Vector Prime.
Vector Prime.
Is it?
Vector Prime by Salvatore.
Fucking people getting eaten.
People getting eaten, and a warrior race that had organic spaceships that just seemed unstoppable. And like, you're worthy of a warrior's death is what somebody's last words were after they lost in a battle with Mara. I was like, oh my.
Not to get into a whole thing, but one day,
it's a thing.
one day, Star Wars and Lucasfilm will have the cojones to adapt those books and to do a proper Yuuzhan Vong invasion trilogy.
The nice thing they did do it was like that was the threat, at least in the EU, that Thrawn was all worried about and why he came over in the first place. And I guess in the current one, it's the Grisks. So
it's the Grisks, yeah. And I've spoken to Timothy Zahn about that. I feel like I've mentioned it on different pods before, but he basically has a trilogy in mind that addresses the Chiss and Thrawn and the Grisk situation. But he's waiting for Lucasfilm to use Thrawn's character the way they want to in the Ahsoka series and some of the other live action stuff, so that he doesn't break canon. As long as whatever they do in the live action fits into the storyline that he wants to tell, he's already got more stuff about Thrawn versus the Grisks in the works. He just needs the green light from Lucasfilm to go ahead and write it.
I think the other ones they could do before we close up here, I know we're going over, but a lot of people forget that the Legacy of the Force books, which really took off during that era, those audiobooks are not unabridged. They're not the full book. I know people are like, oh, well,
they're like 6 hours. Yeah,
6 or 7 hours. Like you're still losing almost 2/3 of your book if you're listening to audio for them. So hopefully they do those ones, or you can go the old-fashioned way and read. But I got to tell you guys this one as we go off. Jade is walking past me the other day, the wife, for those that don't know, and she's like, "Did you know there's a new episode of IPC?" I'm like, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "No one told me."
That's exactly the reaction that we wanted.
That is, yeah. We talked about it privately. We recorded it privately. I think Shinder and Jesse found out about it because they're subscribed to the Mixler page and they dropped in for a little bit. But aside from that, nobody knew, and we just kind of surprised people and we're like, "Hey, here it is." So that is exactly what we were hoping for. But no, we're going to be hyping up the Jurassic stories a little bit more, just because there's a lot of dinosaur talk to get caught up on. So be sure to follow us on the socials, follow Ben's socials, follow mine, follow at IPC Podcast. All that stuff is going to be coming down the pipe real soon. But Ben, this was a super welcome surprise. I don't get to talk about the High Republic that much. I don't get to talk about the EU that much, and just haven't gotten to talk about Star Wars in general lately. So nobody else aside from Shawn that I'd rather have that conversation with. So thanks for popping by.
Oh no, this was a pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to join you guys for at least a little bit of time. And it's always fun. Star Wars,
And
talk about a new Star Wars trailer. I don't care if it's good or bad. It's always fun.
and we got to do that trivia rematch next time for sure.
Fuck that.
Oh, good lord.
If I want to get a spanking, I'll just go back in time and be 5 years old again. All right, man. That was Mr. Ben Hart, co-host of IPC with me and the co-host of the Star Wars Underworld. Very, very in touch with stuff from the galaxy far, far away, but has not seen this movie that is the next segment here on the show. And Shawn, not very many people have seen it. I'm going to be taking a shot in the dark and saying that you probably have not seen this film either.
I have not seen this film, and I get the feeling I confused this with another film I seen a trailer for that I did not think looked very good. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say about the film. And like
Yeah,
my kid's a dinosaur buff. I know you said it's not a kid-friendly film, but
no.
I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
So Primitive War is it's a war movie that has dinosaurs in it. I'll put it that way. It is not Jurassic Park, where you're going to this island with the intent of seeing dinosaurs and seeing how they interact with man. And even the tagline says, "This ain't no walk in the park." Like it's basically trying to tell you this is not Jurassic Park. And in a lot of ways, that's true. In a lot of other ways, it's very similar. It gives you that sense of awe and wonder and danger that you look for from dinosaurs and dinosaur movies. The problem with the Jurassic franchise, though, is they do the utmost to be as accessible as possible. They want to do everything they can for the casual viewer to go and enjoy it. They want to do everything they can for the younger kids who love dinosaurs to go and watch it. My 5-year-old nephew went and saw Rebirth. He loved it. Had, nothing but good things to say about the D-Rex. The D-Rex is his new favorite dinosaur. He's got the $80 toy from Target. It's all of those things. It's the marketing, it's the merchandising, it's the accessibility, it's all those things. Primitive War is basically the opposite of that. There hasn't been that much marketing. There hasn't been that much budget. There isn't that much accessibility for little kids because it's scary at points. There is a moment where you genuinely don't know if your characters that you're watching are going to make it out alive. There are certain moments where a character gets cornered. This isn't going to be too much of a spoiler because I mean it's dinosaurs. You're in a jungle. It's a war movie. Of course, you're going to get cornered at some point. But do you remember from the original 1993 film where Robert Muldoon is going after the Velociraptors and he gets cornered and one of them pops out from the jungle and is like feet away from him and he says "clever girl" and then she jumps on him and you just hear noises and crunching and whatever, but you don't see anything happen, right?
Yeah, it's one of the best parts of the movie.
The implied gore, I suppose. Um, there is a similar scene with raptors where a character gets cornered, and it is not implied. It is very much shown. You very much see exactly what Alan Grant was talking about in his little spiel that he does with the kid, where he shows the raptor claw and the scraping that takes part in the midsection and the pulling out of the intestines. And he leans in real close to the kid and he goes, "The point is, you are alive when they start to eat you." That literally happens in this movie. You actually watch that stuff take place. And even though it's a little bit lower of a budget, the intensity that comes with that is unlike anything you get from a Jurassic film. And so it's like if you take stuff from Jurassic, you take stuff about dinosaurs, and you don't hide anything, you don't imply anything. It's a true gore, true horror, true intense movie that is set around the time of the Vietnam War. So the technology isn't that great. You don't have like super modern weapons or radar and sonar or these GPS trackers and all this stuff that you see in the new Jurassic movies. Um, it's set in an older time where you don't have that stuff at your disposal. And yes, you may have a gun, you may even have a chain gun, but at its core, it's you against nature. And I loved that about this film. There are some special operatives who went missing in a valley during a assault that takes place, and then there's some other Suicide Squad type, Second Chance type, Renegade type, Clone Force 99 type, renegade soldiers who bend but don't break the rules, and they're the best of the best of the best, and they go after these guys that go missing, and they get lost, and they get trapped by dinosaurs. um, but all the while they're uncovering a Russian plot about their involvement in the Vietnam conflict, and so they find a way to intertwine war elements, spy elements, thematic elements that really enhance the film and make it about being more than just being chased by dinosaurs. There's political implications, there's wartime and strategy implications. And so when you combine all of that together, it makes for a rather fun film. I won't say it's the best dinosaur movie I've ever seen. I think that title is gonna always belong to the '93 film. But when you take a look at what it's able to accomplish, I would dare say it's in the top 3 of best dinosaur movies I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of crap too. I've seen Jurassic Galaxy, I've seen the Jurassic Games, I've seen Velocipaster. Like, I've seen the crap indie films that get made, that try to compete with the Jurassic niche in some way, and they just fall short. This one could give Jurassic a run for its money if it gets funded properly. If you get one or two big name actors that can be in the next installment, I think this has a real chance to break the monopoly that Universal has had for decades, and I don't say that lightly.
So let me ask you this, because I think one of the areas that people have a hard time watching other Jurassic movies with is the CGI, the way the dinosaurs look. Everyone compares it to Jurassic Park, and
Hmm.
99% of the time it just doesn't hold up.
Hmm.
How does it hold up with this movie?
So what's interesting is there are certain dinos that are more scientifically accurate as far as the size and the feathering and things like that, and that makes it a little more immersive. I think the fact that they have that type of information at their disposal now and they incorporate it into the movie is really cool. There is a T-Rex chase scene that I think is really well done, but then at the same time there are moments towards the climax of the film where it feels like they used up their budget and had to cut some corners. So the final fight sequence does have some elements in it that are a little cheesy, and you do have to suspend your disbelief a little bit more. And that's where it's going to get some knocks from me. If I'm looking at it as a whole film, there are some places where the CGI cuts some corners. Not going to lie about that. But I think when you look at the story that it tells and the picture that it paints as a whole, it's a little bit easier to forgive some of those things. And Mondo and I went and saw this film together, and he says, I'm not going to quote him word for word, but I'm pretty sure he said he enjoyed it more than Jurassic Park 3. I'm pretty sure he said he enjoyed it more than Fallen Kingdom. And there are some other Jurassic installments that I think he enjoyed more. And then some of those other ones that I mentioned, like the Jurassic Games, Jurassic Galaxy, stuff like that, other standalone Dino movies. head and shoulders above all of those ones that have the really cheesy lower budget animation. So it's not the caliber of like the 2015 Jurassic World where you actually believe that those dinosaurs are loose in the theme park. But it's definitely better than a lot of the other CGI and other indie films.
So, would you recommend people give it a try in theaters for their almighty dollar?
If you have the opportunity to, I think it's really cool to support an indie picture. I've supported indie pictures in the past and never regretted it. And I did not regret the money that I spent on this. I have the AMC A-list subscription, and this one was a quote unquote Fathom event, which is separate. So I actually had to pay for my ticket, which is something I haven't done in a couple of years. And I did not regret it. I enjoyed the whole thing from start to finish. It's a really fun ride. I wish it would get a wider theatrical release. I don't know how many places are still showing it in North America, but as soon as this thing hits streamers, if you have to rent it, it's worth the $3.99 to rent, 100%.
Alrighty, man. What do we got next?
The thing that we've been dreading. We have been back and forth on this for a while, trying to figure out exactly how to do this, and I think I've about reached a decision, but I haven't talked to you about this. Um, every episode of this show that we do, we're going through with a battle royale of sorts for the best episode of Game of Thrones left standing. And it's from all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones and the 2 seasons of House of the Dragon. And we're just going lineup by lineup, episode by episode. And we've been using ChatGPT as a way of keeping it impartial. We're not trying to like arbitrarily pick, oh, this episode versus this episode. We're letting AI decide. And it started out okay
Oh,
with
that's working out so well so far.
some of the things that we discussed. We were pretty much on the same page for, but this one is going to be a hard one. This one is probably the hardest one in this podcast's short lifespan, and I truly don't know how we're going to do it. But the Gauntlet of Thrones for this episode of Bannerman Banter features a plot twist of an episode that takes place in season 1 versus quite possibly the biggest spectacle of the entire show that takes place in season 7. This week's Gauntlet of Thrones is season 1, episode 9, Baelor, versus season 7, episode 4, which is the Spoils of War. And like I said, we didn't pick this. We didn't choose this. But this is how it ended up anyway. And let me tell you, it is one of the hardest and most conflicting deliberations I have had to do in quite some time.
Look, the best way to put it would be this is like a round of 8 or round of 16 matchup in the opening round. It's tough.
Yeah, because this is one of those ones where you're like, oh man, this is something that should have made it all the way to the very end, and it, and here we are in round number 1 having to pick it. So here's my train of thought. We have been very keenly aware that this was a possibility, and we knew that if such a tight race were to take place, we needed to create opportunities for certain episodes to get a second life. I would propose that regardless of which one we choose as the winner moving on to round number 2, that we find a way to revive the loser and let it have another first round matchup. Because both of these are just too good to cast away.
Yeah, I would think that whoever loses this match would definitely get another shot. Like, it'd be crazy to think that wouldn't be the case, to be honest.
Right, right. Because we had come up with a way to be like, okay, what if the fans reached out to us and they were like, hey, we don't want this episode to go away yet. Bring it back. We haven't exactly figured out how to do that yet, but we do know that we want to do that, to have fan and viewer input. So until then, we're gonna make a few judgment calls, and I think this judgment call is gonna be like, hey, um, this is some top Westeros, and we can't exactly get rid of it yet. Uh, Baelor, I'm looking at it on IMDb. Baelor has a 9.6 out of 10 with almost 59,000 reviews on it. The Spoils of War, Season 7, Episode 4, has 103,000 reviews and has a 9.7 out of 10. So this is literally two juggernauts, a 9.6 versus a 9.7. Two of the best for two very different but equally important reasons for the show.
So I guess the first question I have for you, man, is like, you got to see these matchups pop up before I do. You know, our wonderful friends over at Skynet throw you out the matchup, and you see this matchup. What's your first thought?
My first thought was, oh, Shawn's going to be pissed. Because I know you were already a little hesitant about incorporating AI into the program, and you were like, that's going to be your thing. You can do that, but you do it. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. That'll be my thing. And then I thought, we would get some random shit like season 2, episode 3 versus season 5, episode 1, this random crap. And then here we get two, elite top tier episodes within the first 10 episodes of the podcast. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So that was my train of thought. Was I didn't think you were going to be too thrilled that AI was throwing this stuff at us that early. And then my second thought was, I don't know how I'm going to pick this. I truly don't. And truthfully, I've been debating about it like all weekend, most of the day today. And I'm still like 60-40 on my choice, because there's maybe 55-45, because there's just so much excellence in both of those episodes.
So when I first heard of the matchup, my brain basically said, "Oh, here we go, blockbuster pay-per-view type fight," and I feel like my answer from that first night, which took a bit to get to, has changed compared to where I am today.
Interesting.
Which is difficult because obviously we ended up having some extra time to hold on to this one. And I mean, we knew when the show launched today, you still hadn't made your pick. So I'll throw it over to you first, man. What do you think you're going with? And why?
Man. Okay, so I've got the synopses from both episodes pulled up on Wikipedia here. Let me go through some of the stuff that gets covered in both of these episodes before I tell you which way I'm leaning. I'm going to start in chronological order. So I'm going to go season 1, episode 9, Baelor, off the bat. In Baelor, we have Drogo, who is weakened by his infection, and Jorah is warning what the implications will be if the leader of the Dothraki passes away. Over at the Wall, Mormont gives Jon the Valyrian steel sword Longclaw, and Jon is wrestling with the fact that he can't join his family in the fight against the Lannisters. And Aemon reveals himself to be Aemon Targaryen. So there's a lot of plot development that opens up there. The Stark army reaches the Twins, which is the stronghold controlled by the Freys. Tyrion is suspecting that Tywin, who decides that Tyrion and the barbarians will be in the vanguard, wants him to die. As the Stark force approaches, Tyrion gets trampled and does not participate in that battle. But they discover that the Starks only sent 2,000 men instead of 20,000, and those 18,000 men went and solidly defeated Jaime Lannister and captured him. And then, of course, in King's Landing, there is a couple of very tough conversations, including the one that takes place between Varys and Ned, where Ned basically says, my life is worth nothing to me. My honor is worth more than everything. And Varys reminds him that, his children's lives are at stake. And are you really going to sacrifice your kids as well for some, sense of honor? And he decides that in the spirit of trying to protect his kids, he's going to confess to crimes he didn't commit and ask for mercy. Joffrey, being the little twat that he is, decides to have Ned beheaded instead. For people who didn't read the books, this was quite possibly one of the biggest plot twists in all of TV that they had watched up to that point. Like, it's up there with some of the twists that take place in Lost, as far as the mind fuckery that takes place in those final few minutes. And it ends with Arya being taken away to safety by Yoren, just narrowly escaping getting trampled or caught. So that's all the stuff that's taking place in season 1, episode 9. But then you take a look at season 7, episode 4. Cersei and Tycho are discussing the crown's debts that they have with the Iron Bank and how to resolve them. Littlefinger is doing his Littlefinger type things, talking to Bran, and Bran remarks that chaos is a ladder, harkening back to a previous conversation that Littlefinger has had. Arya arrives at Winterfell, and Sansa takes her to see Bran in the Godswood, and the family gets back together. They've all been separated for seasons at a time, months at a time. They've all lived tragic lives with a ton of stuff that's happened, and you get that happy reunion. Over at Dragonstone, Jon is showing Dany the cave drawings of the children of the first men fighting against the White Walkers, and she promises to help the fight in the north, but only if Jon bends the knee. Tyrion and Varys are reporting of a victory at Casterly Rock and the loss of Highgarden, and she questions Tyrion's loyalties a little bit. Considering striking King's Landing with her dragons, she asks Jon for advice. He notes that her followers believe she can change the world, but if she destroys a city, she may be just another tyrant. The Lannister caravan approaches King's Landing after all the Tyrell gold that they stole has been brought inside of the city. That's their payment to the Iron Bank. They just basically got rid of Highgarden. They got rid of House Tyrell, and they're just using an entire family's riches to pay off a debt. But just as they're getting ready to do that, the Dothraki attack, led by Daenerys riding on Drogon. Daenerys has Drogon destroy the supply train that Jaime was transporting. Bronn uses Qyburn's scorpion weapon to injure Drogon, and as Daenerys dismounts to tend to his wound, Tyrion is shocked to see Jaime charging at her. Drogon gets ready to breathe fire at him, but Bronn tackles him out of the flame's path and into the water, where Jaime begins to sink under the weight of his armor. The fight, the battle on the Rose Road, is one of the biggest pyrotechnic spectacles in all of television, and is one of the most important and poignant fight scenes in the entire series. The absolute spectacle of having dragons and the Dothraki in Westeros along with all of the political implications that surround it, is what makes it one of the biggest culminating episodes of the entire show. Everything finally comes to a head. The seasons of waiting that we have been doing to see the siblings get back together finally pays off. The seasons of waiting that we have been doing to see Drogon and the other dragons unleashed on Westeros is finally taking place. And it's bigger and grander and more badass than we could have possibly imagined. You can see the conundrum here, dude. You can see why it's so damn hard to pick one of these. There's so many amazing things that happen in both episodes.
They're two heavyweight hitters. I think if you were to compile a list of the top 2 or 3 episodes of every single season and did it that way, both of these would make those lists for sure. Again, like I said, I started on one side of the fence, and it wasn't like instant. It took a little bit of time to get there, but as time has gone, I've had more time to think about it, and it's popped up into my head a little bit more. I wish I had time to rewatch both episodes, but I really like watching Game of Thrones in order. I know I was mentioning that to you off air, but yeah, I'm ready to get to it, but I'm curious to see who you had first.
All right. Well, I officially decided that I was hooked on this show when I watched Baelor. And that's what I'm rolling with. I fell in love with this show in season 1, episode 9. There was a lot of stuff going on and some stuff I didn't quite understand. There was a lot of talking. There was a lot of political infighting. There was a lot of confusion. But I realized what this show was about. I realized what to expect when we heard Joffrey call for Ned's head. And I was baffled. I was dumbfounded. I thought for sure that Ned was going to be one of the big key players in the show for a while. And to lose him in the first season was a tone setter. Nobody is safe. Everybody has a villainous streak to them. And this show is not going to play out the way other stereotypical shows that I have watched in the past are going to play out. So I don't think I would have made it to the spoils of war if I hadn't had moments like what take place in Baelor. And as much as I love the spectacle, as much as I love the fighting, as much of a satisfying payoff as the spoils of war is, I'm rolling with Baelor.
Yeah, I'm not someone who had read the books, not someone who was spoiled about the end of Baelor, so when that was it for old Sean Bean, other than the fact I knew he died in a lot of his projects, I was still surprised to see him die when he did. It's a moment, right? It's a table setting moment for the rest of the series. You're losing to this point the show's main character, who you think you're building up to spend years with, and what you don't realize is you're about to spend years watching his family get massacred and seeing which ones rise out of the ashes. You keep thinking someone's gonna save him, and no one does, and it's this
It's
gut
tragic.
punch.
It's tragic.
Right? Like, and there was already a few things that have happened in the show at that point to make you go, "Oh wow, what are we in for here?" But then they follow up with that, and it's like, "Oh, this quite literally, if you haven't read any of the source material, is the show where anything can happen," and it goes on to repeat that. So it makes it a damn near impossible task to beat that episode, and yet I gotta go with the spoils of war. And one of the main reasons for that is if you go back to the earliest seasons, specifically season 1, I wasn't the biggest fan of the character, but you were a pretty big fan of the character. And no, I'm not talking about your love for Stannis, but who wasn't in season 1, but is Khal Drogo. And we hear about what the Dothraki will do to them if they're able to cross the sea, and how they're gonna basically wreck shop. And you think about his perspective and conversations that happen between him and Viserys and Jorah and Daenerys, and there's a lot of teasing that in season 1. But then there's the conversation that Ned and Robert have. It's in like the second or third episode when they're on the King's Road, and Ned's having to make up a fake story about someone he cheated with, even though he didn't. And Robert's going on, like, mark my words, one day they will come over here.
Mm-hmm.
And everything he says in that conversation, even though neither one of them get to see it happen, happens. And for 7 years of buildup to live up to that moment, they easily could have written that as a close battle where Daenerys knows that maybe she needs to fear them a bit, and it's more of like a 60-40 thing, but it's not. In wrestling terms, it's a squash match. Team Daenerys and the Dothraki and Drogon go out there and they massacre the Lannister army in what can only be described as the closest thing to Battle of the Blackwater I've seen since that episode, and arguably maybe it even eclipses it. I don't know. I need to think about it, but
man,
it just, if there's one thing Game of Thrones did well, and they don't necessarily execute perfectly all the time, but building up to a payoff, at least for the first 7 seasons, and I'd argue even some of the 8th season, they pay off really well, man. And I dig, and again, not for good reasons, but I dig the episode Baelor for how Ned's death is handled. But I can't in good conscience put that above the Spoils of War on a storytelling level, or even on like a visual effects level. And obviously the show's shot a lot differently in season 7 than it is in season 1. There's a much bigger budget, much bigger crew, and it's hard to just blank all that out and not include it while thinking about these. So I got to go with Spoils of War.
See, and I think that's exactly why I was going with Baelor, was because in spite of its budgetary restrictions, it was still able to tell a compelling story. It was still a huge payoff to everything that we had seen in the first season up to that point. It was laying a foundation of things still to come. And to be able to do that on a fraction of the budget and still have a jaw-dropping moment centered around what was becoming a fan favorite character, centered around the thing that, or the person or the moment that you were expecting to go one direction and then it goes a completely different direction. Yes, you're 100% correct that the foreshadowing between Robert and Ned has its payoff in season 7. But I just feel like the payoff of seeing Ned's reaction when he finds out he's not being pardoned, when he finds out this is the end of his life, this is everything that he feared was going to happen, and it is happening right in front of him. That moment is just something that I can't turn away from. I love Spoils of War. Don't get me wrong. I love Spoils of War, but I think I love Baelor a little bit more for nostalgic reasons, for production reasons, for writing reasons. They did more with less, and still found a way to blow me away. So when we reach an impasse like this, where one of us is choosing one and the other one picks another, then we go to the council. We go to the small council to decide on a tiebreaker. I have a feeling I was probably in the minority in this one, Just let me down easy, dude. How badly did I lose this one?
You didn't lose it badly, because I would say they were having the same, contemplating thoughts that we were, but ultimately it ended up spoils of war. Um, which is interesting, because at one point I thought all three of us were going to be spoilers of war, and this was going to be a whole lot less interesting. But again, at the beginning, I started off with Baelor because of Ned's death. But the more I thought about the full package together, I couldn't turn away from spoils of war.
Well, spoils of war will move on to round 2, but if you concede to this, sir, I would like to put Baelor back into the round 1 rotation, because I think if it goes up against more than half of the rest of the show, it probably ends up superseding some of those generic filler episodes. It just ended up hitting a really, really tough opponent here in this first round. So I vote to revive Baelor and put it back in the first round rotation.
I would agree with that. But only get one more revival though, and you watch what'll happen. Skynet will put it up against like friggin' Blackwater or something.
Blackwater or Hard Home or Battle of the Bastards. Or, no, Battle of the Bastards already advanced. But yeah, there's a lot of other good stuff out there for sure. And there's a lot more really great content to be found here on Bannerman Banter. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and go find the Bannerman Banter YouTube page. There'll be some short form content over there. Go find the Patreon as well. There's going to be some exclusives that happen only on the Patreon page. And then go find us on our socials. There's a Facebook group. We've got personal socials as well. All of that should be in the description, shouldn't it, Shawn?
Yes, sir. It is all there, and we appreciate the support that each and every one of you provide the show. I know the algorithm isn't our best friend at the moment, but as I start to get freed up a bit and a little more used to what's going on, my life's a bit of a whirlwind right now. But I'm hoping, say, a month from now, when things start to calm down, things will get a little more back to normal around here. But I got to tell you, man, it was a pleasure to have you and Ben on at the same time. I tried really hard to make it even more than just Ben, but other parties declined to reply. So
It
maybe
happens.
one day.
It happens, but the effort is still appreciated, and the mini reunion was a lot of fun. So, thanks for putting that together, and like you said, thank you to everybody that tuned into this episode. We'll see you again real soon for another live edition of Bannerman Banter, but that's going to do it for us tonight. An hour and a half discussion of just 3 topics: Mandalorian and Grogu, Primitive War, and Game of Thrones. When you've got some fire content, that's what's going to happen. So that is going to have to do it for us, though. For Shawn, I'm Zach, and for Ben, who was on earlier, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time right here on Bannerman Banter.